Hello, my name is Brian Riney, and I'm going to provide a presentation on how we are developing blue-green infrastructure and nature-based solutions in the southern region. So just to recap, blue-green infrastructure is basically based around green spaces and the water environment, for example, parks and wetlands. They're referred to as infrastructure as it is considered to be as important as other types of infrastructure. And it's very useful to think as blue-green infrastructure as a framework that provides us with a lot of services, but it's an infrastructure framework that must be maintained and enhanced. So this provides an overall view of the blue-green infrastructure framework for a settlement. We can see trees, parks, wetlands, and a river. But we can also see what services this infrastructure provides to the people of a settlement. For example, parks and trees provide microclimate cooling as people busily travel throughout the settlement. And as we well know from lockdown conditions imposed on us from COVID, there are mental health and well-being benefits of taking walks and cycles in areas alongside rivers or through green spaces. But there are also positive economic implications for land use, for land values, income generation, and workplace productivity. Nature-based solutions are essentially a system of methods of working with nature to address societal challenges. This achieves win-win benefits for nature by addressing challenges like surface water management, air quality, and a host of other things. As nature-based solutions are a system of methods, it's useful to think of them as a methodology that will expand and enhance the existing framework of blue-green infrastructure. And this slide provides a number of examples of transport-related nature-based solutions. These nature-inspired actions provide multiple benefits for biodiversity while simultaneously providing societal and economic benefits. The picture on the top left shows a filter strip on a national road in our region. This provides not only extra surface water runoff soakage, but it also provides biodiversity and amenity benefits. The picture on the top right shows bee stops in Utrecht in the Netherlands. Up to 316 bus stops have been transformed into little bee sanctuaries. These bee sanctuaries or bee stops are essentially standard bus stops with grass and wildflowers planted on the roofs to encourage pollination. Not only do these bee stops support the city's biodiversity by attracting honey, bees and bumblebees, they also help capture fine dust and store rainwater. At the bottom, you will see before and after pictures of a street in Sweden. The installation of these bioretention areas reduce water runoff. They filter out pollutants and thereby improve water quality. They enhance biodiversity, but they are also cleverly designed as traffic calming measures. So this provides a really great example of placemaking that is innovative, multifunctional, and nature inspired. So to advance the development of blue-green infrastructure and nature-based solutions in the southern region, we in the Southern Regional Assembly are participating in a project, an Interreg Euro project called Blue Green City. From our perspective, we see this project as an implementation tool for our regional spatial economic strategy. It's an opportunity to work with stakeholders in our region to investigate the shared challenges that pertain to the implementation of these concepts in our region. And generally, we found that there were gaps in providing framework and a strategy and guidance for these elements, and there's a lack of application, specifically at project level. Like all good EU projects, we are exposed to international good practices which can provide a pathway for progress in our region. So I'm going to talk about some of these good practices, international good practices. This example comes from Sweden. Everything that they've been doing in VECWA is very much green orientated. They have reduced CO2 production per resident by nearly 50% since 1993, and their energy is almost 90% renewable. So they have an excellent green track record. Now, they are a partner in our project, and they informed us that back in 2013, they established a structure and framework to develop blue-green infrastructure through strategy. And since then, they have been formulating the nature-based methods to implement and complement the strategy. So to the left is a framework and structured document, and this looks why we're doing this and what we want to achieve, and then the building blocks of guidance on all aspects of nature-based solutions fall out from this. And this covers parks, cultivation plans, areas to do with transport, and many more. And these answer the question on how we are going to do it. And these are the building blocks which blue-green infrastructure can be improved and expanded. So we can learn a lot from this approach as it provides a vision, structure, and clarity of purpose for everyone. The second example I'm going to provide comes from Ingolstadt in Germany. Like the majority of settlements in Europe, Ingolstadt has been experiencing declining biodiversity, which they put down to human land use. So they, along with other German cities, started to look at how they could build and improve blue-green infrastructure. And what they found is that the planning system was predominantly designed to examine the impact of development on protected habitats and species. So very often the presence of a protected species at a project site is only unraveled during the environmental impact assessment. This type of defensive conservation very often is a source of conflict between the project development and species conservation, rather than taking a more proactive approach to finding solutions that promotes the creation of blue-green infrastructure. So to overcome these problems, a species-centered approach has been developed called animal-aided design. This has 3 steps. Firstly, target species are selected at the beginning of the planning process. Then the critical needs of the target species can be identified based on the species life cycle. And then the requirements of the species can inspire the design of the blue-green space. And by doing this, they found that the needs of the species becomes an integral part of the planning process. And if done right, the time delays between initial project development and the consideration of biodiversity are avoided. So here's an example of how the critical needs of a species is incorporated into a planning design. So the basic point is that any type of infrastructure requires detailed attention and an evidence-based approach. So if we are serious about enhancing, expanding blue-green infrastructure, we have to treat it and approach it as infrastructure. This includes bringing these concepts into transportation planning at the earliest opportunity and exploring project options which result in societal, economic, and environmental win-win outcomes. Thank you very much.